One of the benefits of using a feed reader to read or watch stuff online is that you don't have to deal with nearly as much clickbait. For example, you're spared the horror of looking at YouTube thumbnails. Unfortunately, you can't say the same about titles. So on the left here is Elfeed, a feed reader for Emacs, and here are some videos from one of the YouTube channels that I'm subscribed to. And if you know anything about YouTube channels these days, it's that they're locked in a war for your attention and your eyeballs. And that means even the channels that used to do better in the past have now resorted or have been forced to resort to clickbaity titles like the best screen I've ever seen, right? This thing runs apps like they were native, question mark. But still, this channel I would say is on the low end of the clickbait spectrum. Let's look at something a little more typical. A channel like this has a pretty strong clickbait game. Chip shortage getting worse, question mark. So not only do they have these powerful words in all caps screaming at you in almost all of their titles, they are also not content to use punctuation like normal human beings, and instead like to have lots of question marks or exclamation marks, or sometimes both. Alright, but even this channel, I would say, pales in comparison to something like this. I can't even look at this. This hurts my eyes. Alright, so let's go back to TechLinked, and we will use this as a prototype for what I'm planning to do. Alright, so this is Emacs, and Emacs is good at text transformations, and one of the text transformations you can imagine doing is declickbaiting these titles. And of course we want it to be automatic. We don't want to like create a function to do it and then have to call it all the time, so that anytime Elfeed gets a new entry, its title gets declickbaited automatically. I thought it would be fun to try and do this live, or at least live in the sense of this recording. I have a rough idea of where to look and how to get started, but hopefully we'll figure this out, and let's see where this goes. Alright, so one of the first things you want to do when you want to interject some of your own code inside a process that Emacs is following to show you some text is to look for a hook. A hook basically is an opportunity provided to you by a package or library author for you to step in and say, hey, wait a minute, stop right there, before you continue, let me get in there and do some computing. Alright, so the first thing we'd want to do is to look for a hook. Since this is Elfeed, and I happen to know that Elfeed, being a well-written package, provides many hooks, that is many opportunities for you to get in and do your own thing. So we can start there. So I'm going to start by looking for a variable that has Elfeed and hook in it. Let's shorten that. That looks like a reasonable list. I'm going to export that and take a look. Alright, so the new entry parse hook looks roughly like what we would need, because we plan to parse new entries. Let's take a look at the arguments. Okay, so this takes an XML structure, a feed type. Okay, this looks more complicated than what we need. I'm going to try something simpler. So the new entry hook is a chance to add custom tags to new entries. Well, maybe we can do more than just add custom tags to new entries. Let's try it out. Alright. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is it was the Elfeed new entry hook, and I'm going to add a function, Elfeed declickbait declickbait entry, and we're done. Yay. Well, not quite, because Elfeed declickbait entry doesn't exist, of course. So let's create it. Does this thing take any arguments? Let's find out. So functions in this list are called with the new entry as its argument. Perfect. So that gives us the entry. Alright, and since we want to transform the title, we need the title of the entry. So I'm going to put this inside a let block, and we need a way of getting the title of an entry. That looks roughly like what we need. Access slot title. Alright, it's perfect. Elfeed entry title of the entry. Okay, and now what we want to do is set title, and there's no way to set the title, it looks like, but we do have an Elfeed search set feed title. Let's see what that does. Manually set the title for the feed belonging to the entry under point. Perfect. If you can do it manually, you can do it in an automated fashion. So let's look at the source code. It looks like there's some kind of metadata accessor, Elfeed meta, and that's being used to set the entry title. That looks pretty much exactly like what we need. So what I'm going to do is copy that title over here. Alright, so this sets the title of the entry to the title of the entry, which is of course redundant. What we want to do is transform the title in some way. So let's say Elfeed title transform, and now we're done, except of course Elfeed title transform doesn't exist. So this function, it gets a string, which is the title, and we want it to return a string, which is the new title. So this is essentially our declickbait string title. Alright, now the fun part. So to figure out how to declickbait, well, of course we need alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the string title, and I don't actually know what else split string needs. Let's see, it needs a separator. So if the separator is non-nil, alright, I think the default separator is fine, so we won't worry about that. And then the next option is omit nulls. If it's T, then zero length substrings are omitted. It's perfect. So T, and the last option is trim. If it's non-nil, it should be a regular expression to trim text from the beginning and end of each substring. Oh, that's perfect. So what we can do is define trim to be a regular expression that gets rid of all these exclamation points and marks and the question marks and so on. So it's going to be some regular expression. This will have to be a let star because we're going to use trim in the later declarations of the let clause. So let's find a regular expression. I'm going to bring up rebuilder, which is a regular expression builder. I don't like using it in this form because I can't remember the Emacs regular expression syntax, but that's okay because you can change how you supply an Elisp, a regular expression to rebuilder. And now what we can do is use the Rx library to specify a regular expression. Alright, what are we looking for? A sequence of one or more of either a question mark or an exclamation mark. That looks like it caught everything, exclamation marks and question marks, right? That's pretty good. I think I'll also get rid of these ellipses. Alright, that's everything. Yeah. The next step is to copy this regular expression. It's copied and paste that here. We're done. Alright, so we split the string. Now we transform the string. So on each of those words I'm going to capitalize it, right? So all uppercase words get capitalized, all lowercase words get capitalized as well to get title case, and we apply this to the array. Alright, we return that. Let's take a look at let's give it a sample title. For example, this one. This one looks appropriately terrible. Okay, let's switch to Lisp interaction mode. Void variable array. Did I? Oh yes, I did not include it in the let clause. Alright. Chip shortage getting and worse. Question marks are gone and this is looking less clickbaity. Perfect. Only we don't need an array, we need a string. So let's join it back. I guess I can use map concat. Alright. Let's see. So you need a sequence, a function, and a separator. So we have the sequence, sorry, the function, the sequence. Let's just use space as a separator, and let's see what this gives us. Now that's perfect. Alright, so that's in place. So we've got our declickbait function ready here. So now we need to apply it to the entry. I can get rid of array builder, and I was thinking I could do something like this. Given an entry, right? Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look for a function, select. There is no select entry, but there is a selected. Alright, let's see what this does. Return a list of the currently selected feeds. If ignore region P is non-nil, only return the entry under point. Okay, if I do that, well, I guess I'll have to do it in the buffer. That's the Elfeed search buffer. So you can do it with current buffer, Elfeed search. Let's see what that gives us. Yep, it gives us the entry that we are on. That's perfect. And now if I do Elfeed entry title, yep, that gives us exactly what we need to test our code. So now what I can do is setf, so basically using the pattern from above. Elfeed meta feed title, Okay. So we want to set that to Elfeed title transform, applied to this. So I'm going to use a let clause instead. Let's make that a let star and set the entry to Elfeed search selected. That's the entry. Perfect. And then the title is Elfeed entry title of the entry. Alright. Okay, so with this in place, we're going to set the Elfeed new title to the transform title. Alright. If everything works, fingers crossed, then this should change the title of the feed entry in the Elfeed database. Void variable feed, Oh, this feed doesn't mean anything. Okay, so we need the feed, right? So that means we need a feed which is I guess, well, not there, but down here. Feed is Elfeed entry feed. Get the feed, perfect. Feed corresponding to the entry. Alright. Let's see. I messed up something real bad. Alright. Let's try and fix it. So let's change this back to title. Well, I guess it's time to check out what Elfeed meta does. Alright. So I can just use entry here and I don't need the feed at all. Ditto. Okay. Oh, I changed the feed. Ooh, that was stupid. Alright. Instead of changing the entry, I changed the feed, the title of the feed, to whatever the title was. So I guess I changed it to chip shortage getting worse. Oh, that's hilarious. Alright. So we changed the name of the feed to chip shortage getting worse. So we've got to change it back. Feed title back to, I think it was Declickbait. Alright, and now if I do Declickbait, perfect, and next change entry, and this time to title transform title, and we don't really need the feed there, but that's okay, we can just leave that there. Let's go back to chip shortage getting worse. Alright. Okay, and when I refresh this buffer, bam. Okay. So we changed the Elfeed title, feed title. Okay. Let's test it actually on the entire buffer. No, let's test it on every entry in this feed. Since we have the feed here already, let's get all the entries for this feed. I'm sure there's a way to do that. Elfeed entries, feed entries. What does this do? Return a list of all entries. Perfect. Corresponding to that feed, and we can do list for every entry. We're going to change the title to, well, I guess we need to change it to the title of that entry. Alright, fingers crossed again. Now if that worked, every entry in this feed should be declickbaited. Let's check. Bam! Perfect. So we've declickbaited the tech-linked feed. Yeah? Let's try this with something more challenging, like the super clickbaity titles feed. Alright, let's try again. 1, 2, 3, bam, and bam, declickbaited. Perfect. Okay, so now we know that this works, and actually instead of doing that, I can just call declickbait on the entry E, where E is in entries. Yep. Alright. That's all we needed to do. Okay. Alright, so there's a couple of things. At this point we're pretty much done, which is fantastic, but there's a couple of things I want to do here. The first thing I noticed is that if we go back to what was that feed? Experiment. Then this is going to capitalize even abbreviations like KDE and GNOME, right? And we don't want that. And we also don't want to capitalize like articles and prepositions. So words like and, or, if, on, to, I guess something like that. So these are words that we don't want to capitalize. We just want to downcase them. So what we can do is let's group one or more word. Yep. And let's replace that with that, and let's do that. So we can check that if word is a member of these, then we can do something different. So instead of capitalizing, put a cond in there, and let's bring that up here. Well, if that's true, alright, then we just downcase the word. Alright. The other thing we want to do is, well, actually let's put this back in here. So if the word is 3 letters or longer, then we can capitalize it. Okay, so this means KDE will not be capitalized, it will stay uppercase, but GNOME will be capitalized. Sorry GNOME, it's the best I can do at short notice. I think that's a better function for declickbaiting. It's slightly better. I guess there are 3-letter words that we don't want to that we don't want to downcase, but we want to capitalize instead. For example, well, two or three letter words. Words like these. Alright, so with these, if I replace them as before, I can do. Alright, so if that condition is satisfied, nope, that was perfect. Alright, so if that condition is satisfied, then we will capitalize them, because otherwise all words that are of length 3 or lower will be left as uppercase. Alright, I'm much happier with this. Let's apply this to wrong type argument sequence B3. Oh, actually, there we go. And oh, I guess I forgot a crucial thing, which was that all other words are just returned as is. Okay, that should be better. Perfect. Why didn't this D get? Oh, I see, because it's not a member here. Let's try again. We don't want that there. Let's try again. Something about this D is tripping me up. Oh well, it works fairly well, I would say. Sure, I can figure out the edge cases later. So KDE, as promised, remains all caps, whereas GNOME is now lowercase. Unfortunately, other three-letter words like one are not lowercased. I could add it to this whitelist, and that should take care of that. Oh, I see. I'm guessing something is not firing here. Oh, okay. I see the problem. The problem is that we need to run these on capital letters, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Okay, now it should work. Perfect. That takes care of all the edge cases. So at this point we're pretty much done, right? The interesting thing about this is that you can plug in any function you want to transform the text. So for example, you could do defvar, let's call it what was that? Elfeed title transform function, and here we can put Elfeed title transform in, and can fun call Elfeed transform function. Alright, and now we're free to set that variable. So we can set it to, any kind of fancy text transformation or declickbaiter. like Elfeed title transform function. No, Elfeed title super declickbait, which receives a title, and you could apply any principle here. For example, you could do some natural language processing on the title to declickbait it, or you could even pick a new title from the contents, or the video description, right? So we can choose whatever logic we want here, and get as sophisticated a declickbaiter as we need for our purposes. So the code, the operative code, is basically the hook, which I can now add. That's it. That's everything we need. So we can go back here. So we looked for a hook. The next thing we did was find a getter. The getter we used was Elfeed entry title, right? And then we found a setter, which was Elfeed meta. I guess we used this as well as as well as setf. The last thing we did was to write a text transformation function. And I guess that's everything. I could add the code in here. That's the code. Alright. And that's it. That's your Elfeed title declickbaiter. In principle, I could continue to work on this and turn this into a package, which is actually pretty straightforward at this point. All you need to do is turn this into a def custom, specify a group, which would be Elfeed, I guess, and a type, which would be a function. And of course you need a string that says function that returns a transformed Elfeed entry title. Right? This is a function of one variable that returns. And at this point, this is basically a package, right? This is all you need. Alright, that was fun. I'm glad I declickbaited my YouTube feeds to whatever extent I could with simple text transformations, but you gotta agree it looks a lot better now. So I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. If you have any suggestions, things I could have done better or more easier, do let me know. And thanks for watching.